Good morning. This is Dr. Hansa Das. Welcome to the lecture series on Russian history. Today we are going to talk about the Soviet industrialization policy debate, which mainly featured from 1924 to 1928. We have seen the different phases through which the country passed after the Russian Revolution of 1917, when it adopted war communism, when it abandoned war communism and adopted the new economic policy. Now, 1924, when Lenin dies, that leads to a struggle for leadership inside the party and in the country. And there was a revaluation of the Soviet economic policies. The objective of the Bolshevik Party was to achieve a socialist state, and the question was how this would be accomplished without threatening the post war recovery of the economy through the new economic policies, without resulting in high inflation. So, there was a great debate on whether or not industrialization was to be adopted as a policy in the Soviet Union, and if yes, then which sector of the economy was to be given prominence. So the debate over the Soviet industrialization policy was historical and critical, and in general, there was a unilateral desire for rapid industrialization during this period. Now, during this period, there were certain foreign policy matters also, which became serious issues for the country. uh, there was a unilateral desire for rapid industrialization because, number one, there was a fear of war with the capitalist West. Also, China under Chiang Kai-shek was a threat. Poland was unstable. England had cut diplomatic ties with Russia, and many in the Soviet Union felt that war with the outside world was now inevitable. And under these circumstances, industrialization was desired to develop a strong military defense against this type of threat. And Stalin hoped that industrialization would not only create a military competitiveness but also a strong economic base for the USSR, and eventually the use of Soviet resources and potential economic profitability to become self sufficient. So it was envisioned that if industrialization happened and uh, things changed in Russia, she would be able to develop her military defense and her economic base to tackle with the Western threat. So, the Soviet industrialization debate of 1924 to 28 was a result in the split in the Communist Party in how to obtain a prosperous and self sufficient socialist state. Now, over the question of industrialization, there was a division between the left wing and the right wing of the Bolshevik Party, and there were different views that both the wings held. The left wing was represented by E.A. Preobrazhensky, and the right wing was represented by Lev Shannon and Nikolai Bukharin. Now, in this video, we plan to present two parts. First, we will discuss about the debate between the left and the right wings of the Bolshevik Party over industrialization, the difference in opinion between the left and the right wings. And in the second part of the presentation, we will talk about the eventual policy implementation of Stalin, because by this time Stalin had become the undisputed leader inside the party and in the country, and it was eventually he who would decide what kind of a policy to implement. So that will be the second part of the presentation. Let us begin with the first part and talk about the debate that took place between the left and the right wings of the Bolshevik Party over industrialization. Now, the spokesman of the left, as already said, was E.A. Preobrazhensky. Preobrazhensky favored an unbalanced growth policy which favored industry. He believed that the maximum investment of capital accumulation must be placed in the industry sector to expand the capacity of the economy. So he was in favor of developing the industry sector and to invest the maximum in industry. Um, he believed in Rodin's big push theory, which was that there must be a large amount of investment in industry, or else industrialization would not work. Now, the main reason for Preobrazhensky's support of this unbalanced policy was to prevent inflation, and he believed that inflation was due to the low capacity of the industrial sector and the loss of savings ability. So, if investment is done in industry, that would close the large gap between consumer demand and economic capacity. Uh, the long run increase in capacity of the economy was to outweigh the short run investment in agriculture that he believed was sector 2 of the economy. And he turned to Marxist primitive socialist accumulation, which suggested that peasantry finance costs of industrialization. Now, many criticized Preobrazhensky for this part of his suggested economic policy and for the weakening of the agriculture sector. So basically, what Preobrazhensky was talking about was that maximum investment should be done in the industry sector, because if that is not done, then industrialization would not succeed. Now, the right wing of the Bolshevik party, the spokespersons were Lev Shannon and Nikolai Bukharin. Lev Shannon, he opposed the leftist view because of the long extent of time needed for capital investment, and he felt the low capital intensity of agriculture and the short term investment of the industry made an agricultural favored unbalanced policy more efficient. So, Preobrazhensky was also following an unbalanced policy in which he was talking about investment in industry, and Shannon was also talking about an unbalanced policy but with insistence on investment in agriculture. So he believed that increase in agricultural investment would lead farmers to save more because of their marginal propensity to save, and other benefits of investment in agriculture were the immediate increase in the capacity of the economy, which meant the amelioration of inflation, foreign trade would benefit, etc. And also, the country could exchange agricultural for industrial capital equipment based on their comparative advantage. The support of the peasantry was very important in Shannon's policy, unlike Preobrazhensky, but there were a few drawbacks to Shannon's policy also. First was that the investment in agriculture would mean slower industrialization, and in case of military threats, industry investment would be necessary. uh, this was how his policy was opposed. uh, now as I already explained, Preobrazhensky and Shannon suggested unbalanced policy. Preobrazhensky stressing on industry and Shannon on agriculture. Now let us talk about Nikolai Bukharin's opinion. Bukharin, he argued for a balanced growth economic policy, and he believed that the two sectors, industry and agriculture, were too closely linked to favor one over the other. Over investment in one would mean the decline in the other, leading to a decline in overall economic development. So, Bukharin felt that the state should set prices that would gain the peasants' trust and give them incentive to produce. And this policy meant slow but steady economic growth and the eventual outcome of a socialist state. Unlike Preobrazhensky, Bukharin believed that the peasants should finance the capital accumulation but voluntarily. And he also believed, like Shannon, that the Soviet Union could finance their industry through trade with capitalist powers. This meant exporting agricultural goods in exchange for capital goods. Um and The eventual policy implementation of Stalin was uh, therefore influenced by this great debate. Now, let us talk about the second part, which is the eventual policy implementation of Stalin. How Stalin, in the beginning, uh, was in favor of one policy, and then gradually he adopted uh, the other one. So we will finally look into the implementation of the actual industrialization policy by Stalin. Um Stalin was influenced by this great debate over the means of attaining a socialist state. In the beginning, he was on the side of the right. He was pro NEP policies, and he felt that collective farming had to be voluntary. So, in the beginning, Stalin was also in favor of what the right wing was talking about. Now, in the right wing also, there was a difference of opinion between Lev Shannon and Nikolai Bukharin. While Shannon said that maximum emphasis should be placed upon agriculture, Bukharin believed that a balanced policy should be followed in which industry and agriculture should be given equal attention. Now, initially, Stalin also sided with the right, as I already stated. But with the grain crisis of 1927, Stalin began to see the credibility in the leftist standpoint. And like Preobrazhensky, Stalin felt that the peasant control over production was too risky for the industrial development of Russia, and soon Stalin turned to super industrialization and the implementation of 5-year plans, which called for increase of the industry sector of Soviet capital. Now, uh, his proposed goals were seen as unreasonable by many, and there was a lot of confusion during this time as to what policy Stalin is going to finally implement. Now, in 1929, Stalin ordered collectivization of agriculture, and to see that this was done, land and livestock of the peasants were taken by force and accumulated into collective farms, which had quotas set for production quantities. The strict policies of animal husbandry and collectivization, which resulted from Stalin's harsh industrial policies, had a negative impact on the peasantry's living standard. Now, Stalin's Soviet industrialization now followed the ideals of the left wing. So initially, he was drawn towards the right wing to develop agriculture, but finally, he was following the ideals of the left wing. And like Preobrazhensky, he proposed that the industry sector should be increased substantially. And this was the final decision of Stalin, that he would subscribe to the ideas of Preobrazhensky of the left wing of the Bolshevik Party, and maximum investment and maximum attention should be given to the industry sector of the economy. So in 1940, the production of industry sector rose from 28% to 48%, while the production of agriculture sector declined from 49% to 29%. Between 1928 and 1937, consumer prices rose by 700%, and this shows the peasants' contribution to the financing of the industrialization. Now, the first 5-year plan was implemented at the expense of the agriculture sector and the consumer. The collectivization cost many people their lives due to starvation and famine, and also the agricultural production output greatly declined, mainly from the killing of livestock of peasants who were reluctant to join collective farms. The industrialization policy of 1928 did not result spontaneously. It was influenced by war communism policies and the new economic policy of Lenin. For example, nationalization of economy under war communism had led to fall of agricultural output and all over the country, and the NEP years had led to market and communism collaboration, greater peasants to freedom in production, etc., which caused high unemployment and scissors crisis, etc. Finally, what we conclude of the Soviet industrialization policy debate is that the impact of these two policies led to these two policies means the different opinions of the left wing and the right wing of the Bolshevik party. These led to conditions which resulted in Stalin's decision to implement 5-year plans. And there was a need for industrialization, lowering of inflation, and um, control over production. But the final outcome of Stalin's policy resulted in both costs and benefits to the country. So, this is all about the Soviet industrialization policy debate, how the Bolshevik party got divided into two wings. The left wing of Preobrazhensky supporting industry sector, and the right wing, Shannon supporting agriculture, Bukharin favoring a balanced policy, and Stalin ultimately adhering to the left wing of the Bolshevik party's views, Preobrazhensky's views, and finally implementing his ideas and placing more emphasis on the industry sector at the cost of agriculture. So, this is how the Soviet industrialization policy debate uh, concluded. If you like the video, please subscribe to it, and thank you for listening to the video. Thank you. Thank you for watching.